Hello, my name is John Svek. Welcome to this All 24 video. Today, Coach Waterman and I are joined by a special guest, Coach Darryl Wheeler, who is the kicking coach at Western University. Thanks for being with us, Coach.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here, you guys. We're on the right hash, and I always tell our guys most of the quarterbacks in the league are right-handed quarterbacks, so strength of our offense going to the right. So the majority of our kicks are going to be right hash or middle right. And for a lot of right-footed kickers, naturally we open up our hips to our right when we walk. So it's easier kick for these punters to kick the right-hand side. So when you have Kieran queued up here when we're punting heels the goal line. I mean, if it's into a win, I would just direct our punters. I'm not so much focused on direction. I'm focused on contact. I always equate it to base hitting. I don't need home runs and strikeouts. I need to get on base, make smooth contact, smooth swings, put our guys in the position to do their job. So I call in this situation, with the win or even if there's no win, I'll instruct Kieran kind of to climb and cut the hash. I'd have his obviously plant foot forward, his kicking foot back right around his shoulder width apart, right around the heel of his left foot, and I'd instruct him to line up inside the hash and to step to the outside of the hash gradually. So he's splitting the hash in half and he's climbing it to about 2.5, 3 yards. And his aiming point, you see on here, I call the hash to the numbers the alley, because I don't want my punter angling it out of bounds and hit 25 yards. Or I don't want him just hit it to middle field, miss the hash, and put it the opposite side of coverage and the guy going all the way. I find the optimal for location, height, for net, and for push for distance is for the punter to look at a spot 40 to 50 yards down the field at the top of the numbers, because his hip, when he's walking, will direct down this alley, which is maybe 13 to 17 yards here. So I call our punters to climb the alley, meaning that their first step has to be a short, controlled first step. A lot will step long and they'll step narrow, they'll stack their feet and they'll turn their bodies. So when they control that first step, I instruct them eyes over, hands relaxed, and to see contact. And I equate it to T-ball with all these kids, right? As they're starting on baseball or, good golfers, they see the ball come off their swing, see the ball come off the club. I want Kieran in this instant to see the ball come off his foot, to finish his swing, to rip his right arm through, and to almost fall forward. So many of these kickers in the league, they'll fall back to the right, or they'll fall backwards. It's like someone slamming on the brakes in the car, inertia. Well, the car's going forward, the ball's going forward, but their momentum is going the wrong way. So they'll get under the ball, or they'll kind of waggle. It won't turn over, it won't come down hard. The way these guys punt, if they turn it over, a lot of returners will drop it because of velocity is fast on the ball, and you can create some extra possessions. So here, really instructing Kieran, I'm not really too picky on this. I want to be able to push the field, to push the alley, to give my defense some breathing space, especially, if it's a situation, even if it's early or late in the game, regardless of context, I want to be able to push the ball. The goal is if I can get it to, if he's at the 15 and 20, if I could get it to the minus 50, 45, even minus 40, we have a good cover team. They're going to have to get 3 first downs to get in the field goal range, right? My goal as a punter is I want the offense on the other team have to get a lot of first downs to score, because I feel my defense, especially the defense at X, is good enough that, hey, a team's not going to get 6, 7, 8, 9 first downs. I want to force long field goals. I want to be able to flip the field. If our defense gets a 2 and out and I'm 10 yards better than that punter, a couple of punts later, we'll be in scoring position. So that's kind of my mindset. And for stepping, I usually have them reference point the inside butt cheek of the boundary guard or their up back. So they're not stepping outside coverage. They're stepping within their protection. So good. And he does a good job with his eyes catching the snap, first of all, which so many guys get stiff hands, they fight the ball, catches the snap, sets his drop, drops his eyes, and step. And obviously they're set up in return. So like I said, if he ever wanted to, he could run with it, but the goal is let our defense do the job. We're not going to take dumb chances and try to fake it from there. And you look at the end result, right? It's a powerful punt, nice smooth swing. He got the top of numbers at the alley and he just flipped the field and he just changed momentum where he didn't push the sidelines, he pushed his alley and he finished his swing. If you see his follow through, tell the guys to tuck their head, because what Kieran's advantage, he is a huge lever. So when he tucks, he gets a swing well above his head, which will push the ball an extra 10 to 15 yards. And since he's very controlled at his direction. You can see the cover units, instead of converging all 65, they're essentially splitting the field into 32 or even 17. So they have the return team on their heels. So these guys are accelerating, and because he caught the ball, he has nowhere to go.
Great. Let's check out the tight here and see what we can see from this angle, Coach.
Good, and he has the benefit of a great snapper, great communications with the up back, seeing he's ready. His feet are good, relaxed with his hands. You see he doesn't cross his feet, he has width of his heels, and you see where he steps. He starts at the inside of the hash. He climbs to the outside within the protection of the guard. His eyes are down. He holds on to that left hand late, and he hits it about knee height. So when he hits it about knee height, he can follow through, and you can see him extending his arm so he can finish with his hamstring and his glute. Because these punters were not quad loaded, it's posterior chain kicking. And you see his plan, he gets lift off the ground, so he's kicking with his body. I'm like, there's no point working out your whole body if you're just going to smash your right quad into it. So he gets a lot of bounce in his feet. We call it kind of walking on the, it's walking and bouncing on the balls of our feet, not our toes, not our heels. It's front to back, finish through, and his body and his hip takes him right towards the point of contact. So the hip really dictates the swing instead of the leg. So, and you see when he's making contact, his eyes are down. He's dropping the ball instead of throwing it. He's not chasing the ball. He's almost meeting the ball off his foot. Right? And the key is he's getting a backswing. A lot of kickers will stand upright and they'll start swinging off the ground and get half a swing. His swing starts almost at his lower back. And that's where he has the advantage, getting a huge lever and huge finish. That's why at 185, he can kick like he's 225 or 230. See the end result here, where the team has so much confidence because he does it day in and day out in practice and camp in the season. They're not worried about covering the whole field. He cuts down the field, makes their job easy, and it's a good net punt. He's one of the highest net punters in the league over the past X number of years because he can put the ball where he needs to be put, and that's so underrated.
And Coach, you're so right. You know, you see some younger guys where they start looking back for the punt and the kick, and we never want our players to do that, but that's when they don't have that trust in where the punter's going to put the ball, like you mentioned, right?
Yeah, and it's that locations, like they talk about Drew Brees, his most underrated aspect is accuracy. It's that location where guys trust him. They buy in, hey, he's going to do his job. He's not going to be perfect, but I trust Kieran. He's going to put the ball where he needs to. And I look at a punt as a defensive play. The punter is almost a linebacker, where this is the first play on defense where we can make our base defense be aggressive. Instead of our defense being on their toes, we're putting the offense on their toes. We're putting them on alert. Now, you know, this punt flips the field. The offense is limited what they could do in their playbook, especially if you're kicking in so much better. Now it's like they're in panic mode. Now it's like we flip momentum, flip the field. Now our defense has tilted the field in our direction because of a defensive play such as the punt is.
Phenomenal. Again, a lot of good stuff there, Coach. Why don't we move on to the next one here and see what we can see?
Perfect. And here we see obviously much better field position. We're close to plus territory. So the goal is not to have the punter punt as far as he can for average. It's can we put the offense of the other team in trouble? Ideally, can we put them inside the 20 or the 10? So that's meaning, you know, being more refined, more to the top of the alley and just being more relaxed. And you see he did a great job of that in this clip where, you know, anybody can hit the ball straight and down the hash. It's the good ones that are able to understand, okay, I'm almost at midfield here. It's no good if I hit it through the end zone and get a point to get it at 35. We might as well go for it. And the goal here is to stay relaxed, understand, hey, they're in backfield position more than likely because of where they are. They're not going to bring heat. They're going to set the return so I could be smooth. And again, I can angle my body and my steps and my swing towards where I want to go. And you see it where he starts the inside of the hash. He sees it in with his eyes. He cuts and climbs, meets the ball with his foot, and he gets that unbelievable extension and finish. And that's the advantage that Kieran will have above any other punter in this league and at the next level. It's that smooth extension, quiet hand, quiet feet, relaxed eyes, and easy swing.
And Coach, in this clip, there's actually a guy that's kind of coming through at it. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, the importance of or tips for kickers when someone's coming through and
Yeah. So the goal is with their eyes is kind of peripheral. They got to feel the game and still be football players. Where, and that's why the operation time and you have luxury of a great snapper and great protection is key. Where if he has a quick operation, he should be able to peripheral and manage. Okay, I can get it off. But usually, if a guy's coming straight through, a nice thing you could do is go through his steps and hesitate and let the guy fly by, then reset and kick. There's a lot of mistake guys will make. They'll try to run right towards that clock point's going to be. So we'll run right into the guy. Instead of that guy's running more likely so fast and out of control, and they're coached to run by the ball so it's not roughing the kicker. You could see if he's coming in too quickly, you let him fly by, you reset, then you make contact. So it's it'll happen once in a while because guys aren't perfect or they'll have the right call on for the right scheme. But again, it's operation time, being able to adapt. Being able, if we need to institute that one step or 1.5, we can. But hey, if that guy's already there, just let him go by, reset, and just make contact. And Kieran does a good job of when he catches it too. A lot of guys will try to one-hand the ball. He puts his body in front of the ball. He resets his middle and resets its hip. So it's so important. And yeah, Kieran does a great job of that. He sets in front of the ball instead of trying to one-hand it. He climbs and cuts the hash. He gets it off with a rhythm, and more times than not, nobody will even get there, even if they're clean. Yeah, and again, it's more, and the left side of the field for right-footed punters is a little more difficult because naturally righties can open up to the right. So emphasizing drill work and footwork to climb and cut the hash is what a lot of punters will do on the left-hand side. They'll step to the field, then they'll step across, then they'll pop up and roundhouse or swing. So either they'll go out of bounds here or they'll slice it and they'll drift to the right side of the field. And I always say for my punters, if you're middle of the field, you go to your strength of your foot. You're usually middle of the field. Punters will prefer going to the right as a boundary, but here is closer to the left. And again, he has to purposely step that first step. He has to cut to the left side, climb and cut that hash. And he has to step towards that hash so he can swing and get his hips towards the top of the alley. And he does that there, and he gets it out inside the 10. And again, it's forcing that team, St. Mary's, to get 9-10 first downs and score a touchdown. And very few teams in the league can do that on a consistent basis. And so you see he does a great job of not just stepping and swinging across, starts climbing and he cuts the hash so his hips and his upper body follow him because he's kicking with his whole body, using that backswing, using that timing and that follow through. So many guys make the mistake. They look up and step arbitrarily and just swing wherever and just, they're always already looking down the field instead of looking at contact, having that ankle lock, having that toe point, feeling that extension through the back of the body. And when he has that control, you can see his block point is about 2.5, 3 yards top, very difficult to get through. And he has a great confidence and be able to manipulate field position, whether he's going field boundary, left or right. So he's able to do that here, right? Not only, going from shade to sun, he just flipped the field again. Now he put the team in, deep territory. So if they get a first down, they more likely have to take a safety and lose a possession.
I have a question for you, Coach, because I've heard, talking to punters, I've heard different answers to this, and I'm just curious what your thoughts are on your advice for the perfect location or the ideal location for that snap. What is your advice on that? I know some punters prefer it a little different.
Yeah, so ideally, it's hip pocket, right? Because I ask our athletes if it's anywhere between the knees and the chin, right? You should be able to hit that strike zone. But hip pocket allows them to set their eyes and set their drop immediately. And that should be about the height of the drop. Because if you drop it too high, you're working against the force of gravity at 9.8 meters per second negative acceleration. Then you're trying to swing too fast. So you have a lot of wasted energy. And by the time you get to the ball, the velocity of your swing slows down. If we get the snap at hip height, because ideally that's where we want to drop it around at hip height and our elbow being that guide, we can essentially meet the ball. Because after our first step, we start our backswing, and by the time we plant, we're finishing our swing. If we drop it too high or get the snap too hard, we'll try to plant, drop, start our backswing and front swing at the same time, and our timing's off. So if we get ideally hip height, we drop our shoulders, drop our eyes, drop our head, we set the drop right away, and our operation's clean. And again, they have to be a football player, and they have to be able to do drills where if it's snapped like that last one to the left or the right, they can put their body in front of the ball. If it's high or low, they can reset. But it gives them the opportunity to say, hey, the ball's right here. I could just walk it out. And they should have that sensation that they're moving slower through the ball because they go slow to fast, kicking with momentum. So they want that feeling that, hey, I'm moving slow, but they watch the film, their get off time's pretty good.
And that's hip pocket of the dominant leg, regardless of which way you're kicking.
Correct. So, some guys will offset to the hip of the snapper. Some guys will be right in the middle of the snapper, and that's up to the punter. But yeah, whether you're right hash, left hash, if you can get it on the hip, because if you're right and you're getting on the left hip, your elbow and some of your body's already crossing your midsection. We don't want the football and to drop across your midline, because then our feet would stack, like the stack principle when a receiver stacks a DB or a cover man stacks a returner. We want to avoid crossing the midsection. We don't stack and open up and pop up in turn.